Chapter 4 National Movements in India. Introduction. During their stay in India, Britishers became familiar with the political condition of India. The British East India Company took advantage of the political disputes or internal weaknesses of India, and from 1757 AD, after creeping into Bengal, to the revolt of 1875 AD, it established its supremacy over India in its 100 years of rule. In order to maintain this supremacy, the English gradually developed a strong administrative structure in the country. Through this administrative structure, common laws, common administration, and a legal system according to the British system came into existence. Yet, the English residing in India established such laws and administration that England would get more benefits. At the cost of India, they made England prosperous and exploited India the most. The Great National Uprising of 1857. Some of the factors that caused the uprising of 1857 were political dissatisfaction, economic exploitation, social and religious factors, military factor, and immediate reasons like induction of the Enfield rifle in the army. Mangal Pandey was the first martyr of the uprising. Several revolutionaries like Nana Sahib, Tatya Tope, Raja Kuwar Singh, Rani Lakshmi Bai, Bahadur Shah Zafar, etc. took part in it. The uprising of 1857 produced many effects, among which are the end of the company rule in India and the rule of the British Crown ruled by Queen Victoria, change in administrative, military, social, religious policies. The reasons responsible for the failure of the 1857 uprising are the beginning of the uprising before the planned time, lack of central leadership, insufficient and unsophisticated weapons, importance of self-centered interests than nationalism amongst revolutionaries, lack of suitable and organized leadership, etc. You have already studied these in detail in the previous class. Boycott and Indigenous movement along with Bang Bhang movement 1905 was one of the important events of the Indian national movements. Because of the divide and rule policy as a result of the Britishers' Machiavellian policies, boycott and indigenous movement get an impetus. Bengal was a big province at the time of British rule, which included the present-day Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Compared to the other states, Bengal was the central point of national awakening. The impetus and thought for the national movement came from Bengal. In the 1857 revolt, Hindus and Muslims had collectively fought the English. That's why, through the English strategy of divide and rule, they encouraged communalism and caused division among people. Viceroy Curzon, 1899 to 1905, divided the vast Bengal province into East Bengal and West Bengal in the name of bringing about administrative efficiency. There was a strong opposition to the division of Bengal. When Bengal was divided on 16th October 1905, the whole Bengal observed the day as National Mourning Day. The same day, an announcement about boycotting all foreign goods and encouragement to use indigenous goods was made. Not merely Bengalis, but the other Indians also began to believe that this division had been done to curtail the vociferous feeling of nationalism that was catching up in India. That day, Hindus and Muslims tied Rakhis to each other in the entire Bengal to express their unity. This movement had three major characteristics. 1. Adopt indigenous products, that is, Swadeshi. 2. Boycott foreign goods. 3. Adopt national education. India benefited a lot due to this Swadeshi movement, while the English industry was badly affected due to the boycott of foreign goods. The cloth coming from Manchester stopped. Sugar, shoes, cigarettes, tobacco, etc. imported from England also reduced, and the sale of cloth made in India increased. Factories for making indigenous goods were started. The effect of the movement was felt in other provinces of India like Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Mumbai, Madras, etc., besides Bengal. The echo of the Swadeshi movement was felt in Gujarat too. The echo of the movement was also felt strongly in the British Parliament, and just within 6 years, 1911, the division of Bengal was scrapped after a rethinking by the Parliament. This was a memorable victory by the Indians, a victory of the relentless united efforts. This was a noteworthy victory of the new awakening against the English rule. Muslim League, 1906. By adopting the divide and rule policy, the English wanted to create a conflict between Hindus and Muslims. The then Viceroy, Lord Minto, and the Indian Vizier, or Diwan or Wazir Morley, together planned to crush the Indian nationalism. When the national fight became stronger, the English began to favor the upper-class Muslims. The English became successful in convincing a group of Muslims that they must form a Muslim organization to demand for separate voting rights and separate voting centers. As a result, Muslim League was formed 1906. Religious head of the Muslims, Aga Khan, Nawab of Dhaka Salimullah Khan, Viceroy Minto, and his personal minister Dunlop Smith had played an important role in the establishment of this organization. In order to stop the Muslims from attending the annual conference of the Congress, the annual conference of the Muslim League was arranged on the same day as that of the Congress. Thus, the demand for separate representation is not the brainchild of the Muslims, but that of the English policy. Minto started the policy of taking Muslims as associates. That's why many writers consider Minto as the father of Muslim communalism. A historian also goes to the extent of saying that the real creator of Pakistan was not Muhammad Ali Jinnah or Rahmatullah, but Lord Minto. Only since then, the conflict between Hindus and Muslims increased and resulted in the division of India. Birth and development of extreme revolutionary movement. The revolutionary activity in India was started by Vasudev Balwant Phadke. Revolutionaries like Damodar Chafekar and Balkrishna Chafekar brothers, Veer Savarkar, Barindranath Ghosh, Khudiram Bose, Praful Chaki, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh, Shivram Rajguru, Sukhdev, Batukeshwar Dutt, Roshan Singh, etc. carried on the torch of nationalism. Youth trained in making and using weapons were a constant threat for the English government. Fierce revolutionary movements began in India and spread in the other countries as well. The circumstances in its background were the cancellation of the partition of Bengal, the partition of two groups, that is,
Jahal
or radicals, and
Mawar
or moderates at the Congress conference in Surat 1907, and the terrific opposition to practice of Congress of making only resolutions and requests. Lal Bal Pal trio adopted the radical attitude which brought new life in the young Indian activists. The lethargic policies of the Indian National Congress got a solid new turn. Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak declared in firmly, "Freedom is my birthright and I will achieve it anyhow." This became the maxim for the revolutionary freedom fighters. At that time, a group of Indian youth undertook activities to seek freedom from foreign rule. These extreme revolutionaries were more than happy to sacrifice their lives for the motherland. They could give up their lives or take lives in order to attain freedom. Revolutionary activities spread in Maharashtra, Bengal, Punjab, Bihar, Odisha, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madras province, Uttar Pradesh, and central India. Among these activities were some like Mitra Mela Society, Abhinav Bharat Samaj, Anushilan Samiti, Anjuman-e-Mohilan-e-Watan, Indian Patriots Association, later Bharat Mata, etc., and thus gave impetus to revolutionary activities. In the first stage, newspapers and magazines like Yugantar, Navshakti and Vande Mataram, Kesari Maratha gave constant strength to the activities. About 34 revolutionaries were prosecuted in the Alipur massacre. Several revolutionaries were arrested in Howrah massacre and Dhaka massacre. Attempt to kill Lord Hardinge by throwing a bomb, dropping bomb on Viceroy Minto on November 13, 1909 outside Raipur Darwaza in Ahmedabad can all be given as examples of these. In the second stage, 1920 to 1942, events like Kakori loot case, Lahore massacre and dropping of bomb on Central Parliament Delhi took place. You have already studied about the other revolutionaries engaged in all these activities. Fierce revolutionary movement in Gujarat. Sri Aurobindo Ghosh was the pioneer of armed revolution in Gujarat, but he remained behind the curtain. His brother Barindra Kumar Ghosh always remained in the forefront, 1902. He arrived in Gujarat and moved towards the southern part. Here he met Sri Chotu Bhai and Sri Ambu Bhai Purani, very able companions.
Sakaria Swami
met him on the banks of Narmada. This Swami was associated with Queen of Jhansi at the time of the revolt of 1857. Barindra Kumar involved some of the middle-class youth from Vadodara, Charotar region, Kheda, Ahmedabad, Mehsana in the revolution. In this relation, the buggy of Viceroy Minto was bombed outside at Raipur Darwaza in Ahmedabad. Sri Aurobindo Ghosh described the scheme for revolution in his book named Bhavani Mandir. It was also translated into Gujarati and published in the journal Dakshina. Besides this, booklets with titles like Deshi Vanaspati Davao, Nahwana Sabu Banavani Reet, Kasrat, Gulabno Kisso, Kaidano Sangrah, etc. were published in order to spread the thoughts of revolution so that Britishers won't understand. These booklets contained methods of preparing bombs. Ganganath Vidyalaya was established near
Chandod,
Karnali, where secret revolutionary activities were carried out. Many Gujarati youth joined these revolutionary activities against whom stern action was taken by the government. But the fight did not stop, and finally government realized that suppression would not help to rule over India. Revolutionary movement in foreign countries. The revolutionary movement began in foreign countries also for giving freedom to India from the British. The revolutionary activities that began in India spread to different countries like England, Canada, America, Germany, France, Myanmar or Burma, Malaya, Singapore, Afghanistan, Russia. The active revolutionary who took part in revolutionary activities in foreign countries are Shyamji Krishna Varma, Madan Lal Dhingra, Veer Savarkar, Lala Hardayal, Raja Mahendra Pratap, Madam Bhikaji Kama, Sardar Singh Rana, Maulana Abdullah, Maulana Basir, Champak Raman Pillai, Dr. Mathur Sen, Khuda Baksh, Udham Singh were associated with their activities. The revolutionary activities in the foreign countries gave impetus to the revolutionary activities in India. Pistols were being secretly sent to India from England along with the beddings of cooks. Madan Lal Dhingra killed William Weil, who used to criticize the revolutionary. In 1907, the Indian Independence League was established in California, America, which was later named as Ghadar Party by Lala Hardayal. A weekly named Gadar was published in 4 languages. Taraknath Das and Kartar Singh too joined this activity. Champak Raman Pillai formed the Hind Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Dal in Germany. Plan was made to attack India by making Iraq as the headquarter, 1907. In the International Socialist Conference held in Stuttgart, Germany, the national flag prepared by Madam Kama was hoisted for the first time. Raja Mahendra Pratap formed the Provisional Independent Government under Rashtra Pramukh in Afghanistan, in which Barkatullah, Abidullah, Maulana Bashir, Shamsher Singh, Dr. Mathur Singh, etc. also joined. This government made efforts to get help from Russia, Iran, Turkey, etc. They also met the Turkish chief Anwar Pasha and the governor. The conspiracy Ghalib Nama, written on Reshmi Rumal or silk handkerchief, asking all Muslims to unite and fight against Christians, was exposed. Raja Mahendra Pratap sent a golden strip with his signature to the Russian Tsar, in which he had requested the Tsar to sever all ties with England. Russian revolutionary Trotsky had pledged all his support to the Indian revolutionaries. Sohanlal Pathak in Burma and Parmanand in Singapore carried on revolutionary activities. In addition to this, the Kamagata Maru and Tosha Maru steamer events provided inspiration to the Indian revolutionaries staying abroad to fight against the British. The Indian youth in the age group of 18 to 24 years were mainly involved in the radical freedom movement. They used to carry out any kind of thrilling acts as they did not fear death. When caught, they readily embraced death, shouting slogans like Inkilab Zindabad and Vande Mataram for the purpose of freedom of their motherland. Their sacrifices would provide inspiration to the young generations for ages. Morley Minto Reforms, 1909. The English adopted the policy of divide and rule to create enmity between Hindus and Muslims, 1906. Under the leadership of Aga Khan, Muslim delegation met Viceroy Minto. Morley was the Indian vizier at that time, 1909. These reforms are known as Morley Minto reforms. Arrival of Gandhiji to India, 1915. Gandhiji returned to India, 1915, after successfully fighting against racism in South Africa with Satyagraha. His political mentor or guru was Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and spiritual mentor was Srimad Raj Chandra, from whom he got inspiration. Gandhiji travelled across India and observed the life of Indians. He considered exploitation as the root of poverty in India and made plans to abolish British rule in India. Rowlatt Act, 1919. The British government formed the Rowlatt Act under the chairmanship of Rowlatt, the Minister of Law, 1919. This act was framed with the purpose of suppressing revolutionaries and nationalists. This act came to be known as Black Act because it was meant to suppress individual freedom and freedom of speech. According to this act, any suspicious person could be arrested and jailed without conducting any trial against him. That's why Gandhiji called it Black Act, and Motilal Nehru considered it as snatching away of argument, appeal, and advocacy. The British government gained immense power under this act to suppress any kind of opposition. So leaders and people at large expressed their opposition. Meetings, rallies, shows and strikes were organized against it. Gandhiji was arrested in Delhi. When Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Kichlu were arrested in Punjab, the agitation became severe. The government vehemently tried to suppress all opposition. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre, 13th March 1919. When popular leaders like Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Kichlu were arrested in Amritsar, Punjab, a public gathering was organized in the Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar on the day of Baisakhi to oppose the arrest. General Ordinal Dyer reached there with his troops and without any warning opened fire on innocent people from the machine gun. There were high walls on four sides of the Bagh. In the middle was an unused well, and the only way out being narrow, a number of people lost their lives in the firing. According to the government report, 379 people died and 1,200 injured. As per the committee appointed by the Congress, 1,000 people had died in the firing. Hunter Commission, investigating the case on behalf of the British government, defended General Dyer. The commission forgave Dyer, considering it as an innocent mistake that happened unknowingly. On the other hand, when Dyer returned to England, he was honoured with a sword and £2,000. Indians got a terrible shock because of this. After this inhuman act, Gandhiji's faith towards the British was completely lost. This event played an important role in uniting the whole nation. This tragedy became the ground for the future non-cooperation movement. Khilafat movement. During the First World War, Turkey joined the German side. So when England won, the treaty that was made had many firm and unjust terms and conditions for the losing side. The Sultan of Turkey at that time was a Khalifa, head of Muslims. The movement in India to oppose the strict terms imposed on Turkey and the Sultan came to be known as Khilafat movement. Ali brothers, Maulana Shaukat Ali and Maulana Muhammad Ali, were the chief leaders of the movement. Gandhiji requested the Congress to support the movement, keeping Hindu-Muslim unity in mind. The movement became severe with the Congress support. Non-cooperation movement, 1920 to 1922. The Nagpur Conference gave the approval to non-cooperation movement December 1920. Now, the Congress made a strong demand for independence of India, or Swarajya, instead of self-government, Swashasan, under the rule of the British Empire. Constructive aspect. In the positive aspect of the movement was Hindu-Muslim unity to be strengthened, insistence on using Swadeshi articles, revival of spinning wheels in every house, collection of 1 crore rupees for Tilak Swaraj Fund, abolition of untouchability, national education, prohibition, etc. Negative aspect. The negative aspects consisted of giving up of government jobs, government school colleges, boycott legislatures, resign from government courts, local self-government, boycott foreign cloth and other articles, government functions, titles, etc. Programs for non-cooperation movement. In the beginning of the movement, Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore surrendered their titles Kaisar-e-Hind and Knighthood Honour, respectively. Other leaders of the nation also gave up their titles and positions. Students left English schools and colleges. At various places, foreign clothes were set on fire. When Duke of Kainat came to India, he was boycotted, 1921 November. The ceremony of honouring Prince of Wales was boycotted. Such incidents created considerable national excitement. On the other hand, national schools and colleges were established like Kashi, Bihar, Jamia Millia, Gujarat Vidyapeeths, etc. Due to the vigorous propaganda for Swadeshi goods, the import of cloth, footwear, luxurious items from England reduced drastically. This reaction rattled the British Parliament. The government was shocked by this kind of huge economic loss to England. More than 1 crore rupees was collected in the Tilak Fund. On many occasions, the Hindu-Muslim emerged predominantly. The Mopla Revolt, Malabar, between Hindu landlords and Muslim peasants deserves criticism, and it was suppressed by the British Army. The government adopted the policy of suppression. Uncontrolled lathi charge, firing, collective arrests, and inhuman torture was meted out. Unsuccessful attempts to break Hindu-Muslim unity were made. The Chauri Chaura incident and withdrawal of the movement. People took out a rally in the Chauri Chaura village in Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh. The police opened fire on the people. But when they ran short of bullets, people attacked the police station and set on fire, in which 21 policemen died. On receiving this horrible news, Gandhiji said, "I have committed a Himalayan blunder by giving the tool of satyagraha in the hands of people who do not understand the value of non-violence." He suspended the movement immediately. Importance of non-cooperation and its effects. This movement did not achieve its desired aims, but through its negative and constructive aspects managed to generate in people awareness of their rights. A negative atmosphere against the government was created. There was a strong feeling of opposition against injustice. There was a political awareness among all the classes of India. The faith in independence became stronger. The fear of lathi, punishment and imprisonment was removed. The youth and women too came forward to serve their nation, and Congress became an organization of the people. Schools giving national education began. Hindi started getting more importance than English. The movement that was limited to cities and towns and intellectuals spread to the people and villages. Swarajya Party. With the purpose of retaining the national awareness among people, Chittaranjan Das Munshi and Motilal Nehru formed the Swarajya Party after the withdrawal of the Non-Co-operation movement. Their purpose was to enter the legislative assemblies and oppose the unfair policies of the government. The leaders of the Swarajya Party also adopted the constructive activities of Gandhiji, like abolition of untouchability, Hindu-Muslim unity, revival of spinning wheel, liquor prohibition, etc. Swarajya Party contested the election of the legislatures held in November 1923, and the candidates of the Swarajya Party were elected in the central legislature as well as the provincial legislature and got clear majority. It did not get the majority in Bengal, but emerged as a strong party. Motilal Nehru was elected into the central legislature as the party leader, and Chittaranjan Das was elected in the Bengal province. Swarajya Party disapproved the government budgets and proposals and resented the unjust policies of the government. It compelled the government to consider the problems of the people. Due to the working of the Swarajya Party only, government had to appoint the Simon Commission 2 years earlier. The Swarajya Party functioned in a disciplined manner and established high parliamentary practices. It proved to the British government that Indians can rule constitutionally and democratically. The educated class of India was thus attracted to the Swarajya Party. National awareness re-emerged in the people. The party played a crucial role in bringing the achievement of independence very near. All this indicates the importance of the party. With the death of Chittaranjan Das in June 1925, the Swaraj Party became weak. Some members began supporting the government, while others established a new party named the National Party. Thus, the prestige of the Swaraj Party reduced. In the 1926 election, all its members lost terribly except in Madras province. Bipin Chandrapal and Surendranath Banerjee even criticized the party strongly.